This is Kayla. She is a Year 7 student and is experiencing some difficulties. In the vignette, there are many adolescent development issues we are going to focus on, such as social development in relation with brain and cognitive development. In addition to this, we will discuss physical development.
From a physical development perspective, Kayla is undoubtedly going through the stages of early puberty and facing the effects of these biological changes. This is supported by the fact that the vignette states that she is more physically mature than her peers. Research by Mull, Lustig and Drott in 2002 suggests that the effects of early maturation for females are usually negative. This puts them at risk of the following possibilities. In Kayla's case, she appears to suffer from 1. Problems at school. 2. Involvement in substance use. Although Kayla may or may not be directly participating in substance use, we can see that she is affiliating with students older than her who have been previously reprimanded for using illicit drugs. Number 3. Early pubertal depression. Kayla can be withdrawn in class and does not share personal information among her peers. According to the research of Swan, Hickson, Delaronda in 1992, this information could imply that she is undergoing forms of depression. And number 4, low self-esteem. According to the American Psychiatric Association, low self-esteem works hand in hand with depression. If we assume Kayla has depression, then it is likely she also suffers from low self-esteem, and as part of early puberty, she may feel isolated from her peers, affecting self-esteem and self-confidence further. Mangal's study supports this idea.
Vygotsky proposed a term, zone of proximal development, to describe that past a certain point, individuals need assistance by someone more knowledgeable than them to understand and remember particular knowledge and skills. From a social cognitive development perspective, Kayla may be finding it difficult to remember concepts because she does not associate with peers of her age. This hinders her ability to discuss classwork with her peers who, according to Vygotsky, can teach concepts to each other better than adults and thus grasp the concepts in maths and science. In addition, Kayla's parents have very limited English language skills, therefore it would make it difficult for them to help her grasp the concepts she is struggling with as they cannot explain it to her. In terms of social and emotional development, it can be seen in Kayla's situation that she struggles with peer acceptance with students of the same age as she does not open up to them and instead hangs out with older students. ELIS 2006 states that students who lack friendship with peers are less likely involved with classwork and have a lower self-esteem and lower acceptance by peers. However, from a moral development perspective, we can see that Kayla has strong morals to succeed in her future, with her passion for visual arts and wanting to pursue a tertiary education. In a sense, Kayla has the attitudes and beliefs that she can achieve. Nevertheless, she has stated that she needs the extra help, which is indicated in her willingness to learn.
As Kayla is a Year 7 student, meaning she is between the ages of 11 and 13, we could argue that she has not transitioned from a concrete operational stage to a formal operational stage as stated in Piaget's cognitive theory. Theoretically, if Kayla was still in the concrete operational stage, she would not yet be capable of understanding complex, abstract content without the help of a physical aid. This would make subjects like math and science very difficult for her, whereas subjects like visual art and sports, which are more physical subjects, would come easier. However, the vignette states that Kayla often complains of forgetting class content and is not able to keep up. This could work hand in hand with Kayla not understanding concepts if she is still in the concrete operational stage, or it could be to do with a working memory defect, possibly due to depression. In reference to what we've said earlier about Kayla's physical development, we can see there is a possibility that she has depression. Studies conducted by Christopher and McDonald in 2010 have linked depression to working memory defects. This could be another possible explanation for Kayla forgetting class content and keeping up with classwork.
The following are our suggested interventions to help Kayla.
This first strategy we have to aid Kayla is counselling. As suggested by Trune in 2014, attending sessions with a school counsellor or outside of school counsellor may assist Kayla if she has depression and or low self-esteem, as well as provide her with ways to improve her working memory. Research has shown that counselling is an effective way of managing depression and is a better alternative to using medication, especially in the case of someone as young as Kayla. This has been stated by Emia, Donaghy and Steele in 2006. Studies by McManus, Waite and Shafran in 2009 suggest that with the correct guidance and in addition to a cognitive behaviour therapy, an individual could learn to handle depression and self-esteem issues. This type of therapy could significantly assist Kayla in all aspects of her school life. Strengths. Number 1. Counselling will help Kayla better understand the changes she is going through and give her strategies to help her cope with depression. This is suggested by Gilbert in 2000. Number 2. Her family is supportive and it will encourage her to participate in counselling. Number 3. According to the New South Wales Department of Education and Communities, within schools there are counselling services available to students which would help Kayla with her family's financial struggles. Number 4. This improves self-esteem and self-confidence. This is stated by McManus, Waite and Shafran in 2009. Number 5. According to Melbourne Child Psychology, counselling can find strengths and weaknesses of the students and recommend learning strategies to improve Kayla's working memory. If given permission, the counsellor can talk to the teacher about strategies to help Kayla, such as chunking, rehearsal, and mnemonic strategies, e.g. making up a song and creating an acronym. Weaknesses. Number 1. Studies by Fox and Butler in 2007 state there is a social stigma around mental illness. Therefore, counselling could have a negative effect on Kayla's self-esteem, as she may feel there is something wrong with her, as if she had a mental illness. Number 2. Burmeister and Prager, 1995, and Gibson and Klein in 1996, and lastly Turner in 1999, state that young people generally prefer to seek help from their peers in the first instance rather than from their parents or other adults. This is from page 70. Number 3. If for whatever reason Kayla wishes to see a counsellor outside of school because perhaps she doesn't connect with the counsellor in school or is not comfortable with them, her family may not be able to afford it.
The second intervention is scaffolding. An observation study by Murphy and Messer 2000 and a study involving a pre- and post-test by Pratt and Savoy-Levine 1998 found that students who were given scaffolding instruction advanced in level while those who worked independently or just worked as a group without guidance did not improve or learn. To help Kayla get past her zone of proximal development, teachers could use scaffolding to support Kayla until she can accomplish the knowledge and skills on her own, which is supported by Wood and Middleton 1975. The strengths of scaffolding include: firstly, scaffolding can benefit Kayla as it provides a supportive environment where Kayla can be engaged in meaningful and deep learning that is not frustrating for her. Paul, Volman and Bish-Usen 2010. Secondly, it can motivate Kayla to learn and become an independent learner. Thirdly, through scaffolding, Kayla can gain the concepts she is struggling with through social interaction. The weaknesses of scaffolding include: firstly, Northern Illinois University found that an issue with scaffolding is teachers may not know when to remove the scaffolding for the student. It is important for Kayla's teachers to remove scaffolding so she does not always rely on the support. Secondly, the teacher must make sure Kayla is reaching just beyond her zone of proximal development. Ori 2010 found that the success of learning depends on not going too far beyond students' abilities.
Our third intervention is joining an extracurricular activity as well as lifestyle changes. Sports have been proven to help with depression and is an essential part of a healthy lifestyle. This is suggested by Oswald in 2005. This, together with a balanced diet, will help Kayla's moods and self-esteem. Joining extracurricular activities such as sport teams and art classes outside of school will aid Kayla in connecting with peers of similar age, which then in turn will assist her in school life. Some of the strengths of this intervention include: 1. Research by Thorin, Forrest, Hoffman and Seals in 1990 and Schenfeld in 2012 states that exercising increases the release of endorphins, which also improves mood and makes you focused. Number 2. Harrison in 1960 and Dodder in 1960 discussed how art classes could help adolescents with self-expression. This will definitely help Kayla. 3. Studies by Adelaide, Peru, Pop and Cotman in 2005, Fortis and Farrar in 1991, and Humison, Holmes, Zellner, Pudovine and Dishman in 2004 found that elevating your heart rate during exercise improves blood flow to the brain, which then helps memory and overall brain function. Moreover, studies by Etmier, Salazar, Landers, Petrozello, Han and Noel in 1997 and Pontifex et al. In 2011 show that physical activity improves working memory. Number 4. Pontifex et al. 2011 and Goodman in 2014 found that exercise helps grow more neuronal connections, which leads to better brain function. And number 5. According to studies by Massoni in 2011, Smith in 2003, and Ewing, Seedfeld, and Brown in 1994, Extracurricular activities provide a social platform. This can help Kayla develop relationships with peers of a similar age. Weaknesses of this intervention include: number 1, Kayla's family is not financially stable. A study by Holt, Kingley, Tink and Scherer in 2011 concluded that joining a sports team or an art class can be quite costly, and that individuals and their parents often were restricted to what they could participate in due to their financial constraints. Number 2, sports teams can lead to physical injury. Number 3, if Kayla prioritised sports and art class, she may neglect her school studies. And lastly, number 4, Davis, Kennedy, Revelsky and Dion in 1994 found that exercising could lead to an obsession with an unrealistic expectation of your body, the perfect body. In turn, this could lead Kayla to having an eating disorder, which is already a high risk due to her early maturation. This is suggested by Arnett in 2014.
The fourth strategy to assist Kayla is social and emotional learning program. The teachers are aware of Kayla's situation, so to aid Kayla in developing social and emotional skills, as well as improve academic performance and her self-esteem, teachers can implement SEL. This involves teaching Kayla and her peers skills such as self-management, self-awareness, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. The strengths of these programs include Durlach, Weisberg, Dimnicki, Taylor, and Schillinger 2011 analysed 213 studies on social and emotional learning, and it was shown that SEL significantly improves social and emotional skills as well as the attitudes, beliefs, and academic performance of students. Their research was backed up by a study conducted by Zins, Bloodworth, Weisberg, and Wahlberg 2007. Secondly, the SEL program will help her develop friendships with peers, improve her self-efficacy and well-being, according to Zings et al. 2007. Weaknesses of the SEL program include, firstly, Durlach et al. 2011 pointed out that one issue with SEL is that it is time-consuming for the teacher to prepare. Secondly, Wilson and Lepsey 2007 found that benefits of the intervention may be affected by factors such as ethnicity, socioeconomic status, and gender.
One of the main limitations we experienced due to time constraints was that not all developmental aspects were discussed in depth, such as moral development. However, we focused on those that we felt were most prominent. Another limitation was that, although we have provided interventions to assist Kayla in her school life, we know there will always be weaknesses for these strategies, and there will always be more strategies.
Adolescent development has really engaged me and taught me a lot about adolescents, how they're going through many changes, and how these impact upon how I will teach the class. One developmental theory that will impact on my teaching is Vygotsky's theory of social cognitive development. As a teacher, Vygotsky's theory impacts on how we teach, as students often learn better from an individual more knowledgeable than them, such as a teacher. One approach I can apply in my food technology classroom to address Vygotsky's theory is reciprocal teaching. Cruz et al. 2007, page 90, defined reciprocal teaching as a teacher guiding a group of students to ask questions that guide their learning. This adapts Vygotsky's theory as it involves peers assisting each other under the aid of a teacher to help them comprehend the content and make meaning of what they are learning. Primary and secondary studies by Palinska, 1986 and 1987, and Palinska and Heron-Cole, 1999, as well as studies by Wilson, 1994, and Klinger and Vaughan, 1996, found that reciprocal teaching can be effective in improving reading comprehension in students and engage them in ideas. McAllen, 2014, showed that this approach has a limitation. He stated that there may be too many students within the class for the teacher to supervise and aid all groups, and as a result, students provide incorrect information to peers. As a teacher, I will have to be mindful when to use reciprocal teaching in my food technology classroom to avoid the limitation mentioned, particularly when learning a new concept. However, I will try and incorporate it whenever possible to help students learn.
I found the Adolescent Development Unit very engaging, interesting and very beneficial for my future teaching practice. This unit has taught me a lot about the various perspectives and information about young people, the biological changes that they go through and the cultural perceptions on adolescence, and I guess how these aspects will influence and impact on my teaching. As a music teacher, my personal model of teaching will be based on cognitive and motivational methods. And one of the developmental theories that will impact on my teaching is Vygotsky's theory of social cognitive development. Now, Vygotsky emphasised that students often learn better with guidance from someone who is more knowledgeable than them.
than them. So therefore, one intervention I'd like to heavily implement daily in my teaching is scaffolding. Wood and Middleton in 1976 suggested that scaffolding can help students get past their zone of proximal development, either with the help of a teacher or their peers. So as a music teacher, I want to encourage peer learning as much as possible. From a motivational approach, I love to motivate young people about music. I love to inspire them, and I guess through my journey of teaching, my goal is to learn more ways to be able to inspire my students, not just in music but hopefully in all aspects of life. Motivational teaching provides a platform for a healthy, fun and an engaging classroom. Exploring these approaches will provide me with the ability to empathise with my students, with what they're going through, and influence their well-being. However, I think it will be challenging to keep the student-teacher boundary, so I must always remember to keep a consistent professional boundary. And another limitation is I must keep in mind never to over-scaffold and know when to remove scaffolding so that students don't rely on the support.
This unit has educated me in the process of puberty, specifically the brain and cognitive development elements an adolescent can go through during this time. Some specifics that really caught my attention were things like synaptic pruning, which is when the brain eliminates non-stimulated neural connections, Piaget's theory of cognitive development, as well as Vygotsky's theory of social and cognitive development. As a future music teacher, I would like to incorporate these things and keep them in mind when I'm teaching. I think music is really important. It's good for students to learn as it can be fun as well as stimulating for the brain. It can also really be very therapeutic and help students express themselves with their emotions. This is why I would always like to engage my class in whatever subject I'm teaching, so to ensure that their neural connections are properly stimulated so that these musical skills will not be eliminated during the synaptic pruning process. Music is also filled with really complex and abstract theories which are not always easily translatable. It's not always easy to make them concrete. But I always want to keep Piaget's theory in mind during this, because you've got a lot of students that come through year 7 that may not have completely transitioned from concrete operational stage to formal operational stage. I'd also really want to utilise Vygotsky's theory of social cognitive development, and keep in mind that sometimes students do learn easier from other peers around their age rather than a teacher who's quite a bit older than them. I'd want to encourage them to learn from each other and work together, because that is a really big part of music, is working together and playing together, and that's how you become good and better. A limitation of this though is that depending on class size, I may not always be able to regulate and watch the students and make sure that they're all doing the right thing. And another thing I'd want to make sure is that professionally I keep the boundary between student and teacher. Put that in the background, didn't I? I'm starting to celebrate. Thank you.